What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. It's Monday. It's the 18th. Personally, for me, I got a birthday on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that. But 18th, Ari, we've hit the All-Star break for MLB. We officially hit that halfway point. It all started yesterday. Final games heading into the MLB draft, kind of a nice segue, to end the first half with, drafting for the future. How you doing? It's Monday. Training camp literally is starting for some teams today. Most teams maybe next week. How we feeling?
Yeah, feeling great. Obviously, our Seattle Mariners winners of 14 straight heading into the All-Star break, the longest streak ever entering the All-Star break. So can't complain about that. And we get to see Julio Rodriguez tonight in the Home Run Derby, which we'll get into. And then tomorrow, Julio and Ty France represent Seattle in the All-Star game. We have the Bills and Raiders rookies reporting to camp today. And then, by next week, it'll be every team will have reported. So congrats to Portland for winning the NBA Summer League championship.
It's sad enough that Dame didn't even know that they had to call him on IG Live and tell him that they won the title. That just shows you what's going on in Portland. I mean, and then I like how Damian Lillard was like, "Oh yeah, me and Anthony Simons are celebrating." Y'all like, I bet that's what y'all were doing 20 minutes ago, drinking Casamigos. Okay, but yeah, shout out to Portland. Great to see the future do play well. Obviously Portland going through a rebuild right now, so great to see that rebuild is maybe somewhat working. But obviously Summer League competition is way different from NBA competition. And then let's just get right into it. We've been talking MLB pretty much the rest of the weekend, and then heading into today, because today, in about 3 hours from now, is the start of the Home Run Derby. Let's just go through the eight competitors. So number one seed overall, I think they seeded because of how many homers each player has currently. So number one right now leading is Kyle Schwarber. He leads the NL in homers, I believe with 34 or 35, one of those two numbers. He is the number one overall seed. A lot of people, Kyle Schwarber, usually he apparently has a condition where it's not great for him to do it, but he wanted to do it, so great to see his name in there. I believe the number two seed is Pete Alonso. He is the defending, I think, two-time champion. Yes, two-time champion of the Home Run Derby. We've seen what he can do before. He's a veteran. He hits bombs. He hits them deep. He hits he's a veteran. He's trying to go for a 3P like Ken Griffey Jr. did, so we know what Pete Alonso brings to the table. The three seed is Juan Soto. And
Corey Seager.
Corey Seager. Yeah, that's right. Number three seed is Corey Seager. Seager, as of late, heading into the All-Star break, he was raking. We saw Mariner fans saw a little bit.
He had a stretch of like 5 straight games of the home run like a week ago. So he's been
he was going crazy. Mariner fans saw a little glimpse of him, hitting it down in Globe Life Stadium. So he is the 3 seed. The 4 seed is Juan Soto. Excuse me. He is a dark horse in this. I think a lot of people have him as a dark horse. We've seen him hit 500-plus bombs before, and I believe this is his second time entering the Home Run Derby. So it's great to see him come back and do it again. And obviously Juan Soto is kind of the bigger name in baseball right now, obviously with his pending trade, depending if he does sign with the Nationals. We'll get into that maybe on Wednesday. Then the 5 seed is Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians. Great to see, Jose Ramirez do this. We've seen him. He definitely has power. He's one of the best third basemen in the American League right now. It's between him and Rafael Devers. But Jose Ramirez does have that power, so it'll be an intriguing matchup between Soto and then J-Ram in the first round. Number 6 seed is our boy Julio Rodriguez. Great to see him. His first Seattle Mariner do it since Cano in 2016. Obviously with all the hype Julio Rodriguez has just drawn into Seattle this year, it's just so great to see him represent Seattle in the All-Star game.
I saw on Twitter that at the media this afternoon, he was getting more people wanting to talk to him than pretty much any other player on the field. So it's pretty cool to see, because it's rare that a Mariners player gets the most hype at an All-Star game. But I mean, clearly it's for good reason. So
Yeah, everyone. I mean, we all Mariner fans knew about Julio Rodriguez, and we were just waiting for him to take the MLBs by storm, and that's exactly what he does, and that's exactly what he's been doing. So, I mean, it's just fantastic to see. So, I'm very excited to see that matchup, and also kind of, we just saw Corey Seager and their Texas Rangers just play this Mariner team, ending in a Mariner sweep, of course. So that's an intriguing matchup there. The 7 seed is Ronald Acuna Jr. And honestly, that matchup between Pete Alonso and Ronald Acuna is going to be the best first round matchup because we've seen Acuna do this in the past, and he hits homers. That year with Vladimir Guerrero and that that 2019 Derby was absolutely insane. But Ronald Acuna comes back. I mean, obviously he's coming off the injury from last year, so it's great to see him back in the All-Star game after missing it last year, literally day before. We all remember that injury, that ACL injury that sidelined him for the whole rest of the season. So it's great to see him come back fully healthy, make it to the All-Star game, All-Star lineup. We know and competing in the home run derby. So that's going to be a definite sleeper matchup in the first round between those two. And then, and finally, round out with the 8 seed Albert Pujols. This is kind of the feel-good moment right here. Obviously, this is the last ride for Albert Pujols because he is officially retiring after this season, and he was picked as a legacy pick for the NL. So Albert Pujols has done so much for this league and so much for that St. Louis organization. So after all the travel he's done throughout the majors, it's great to see him come back to the team where he started and have that last ride that he's able to have, make it to the All-Star game, and compete in one more home run derby. So we have the matchups. Ari, I'm going to let you go first. In order, who do you have in the first round between Kyle Schwarber and Albert Pujols, 1 versus 8?
Yeah, I mean, as much as a cool story it would be for Pujols to make it far in this bracket, I just think that stamina is going to be an issue, for someone of his age in this type of, home run derby. So, I mean, I think Schwarber's going to win. Hopefully it's close. I mean, I hope all the matchups are close and exciting, to the last seconds. But I don't see an upset here. I think Schwarber knocks off Pujols in the first round.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. I think it would be amazing to see Albert Pujols, maybe even beat Kyle Schwarber in the first round. But Kyle Schwarber, he simply rakes. He hits them bombs to right field all the time. He hits it high and deep, and he's been a key member of this Phillies lineup as of recent on their surge, trying to catch up in that NL East. So even though I'd love to see Albert Pujols win, it's Kyle Schwarber is a number 1 seed for a reason this year because he is raking. So I'm going to go with Kyle Schwarber as well. And who do you have him facing in that next round? You have number 4 seeded Juan Soto, or do you have the 5 seeded Jose Ramirez? Artie, who do you have?
Yeah, I have Juan Soto in this matchup. I think it will be pretty exciting. I think this might be the matchup that'll have the longest distance home runs between the two. I think Soto last year, I want to say, had the longest overall. I think it was like 520 feet. Obviously, it was in Colorado, so obviously the elevation had a little bit to do with that. But I think Soto is gonna take this matchup. But I think it'll be pretty. I think it'll be pretty tight.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think this is going to be interesting. Obviously, I believe Jose Ramirez is a switch hitter, so it'll definitely be interesting to see where he kind of goes to really get the best angle. I think that's kind of going through his strategy.
I think I saw the wind was blowing out to right field, so it'd be interesting to see if that makes a difference in which side of the plate he'll stand on.
Yeah, definitely. So it'll be interesting to see where he stands, but I'm going to go with Juan Soto as well. I do think he's going to have the longest homer, but I remember that left field. You can easily hit homers outside the stadium there. So I think maybe someone in the next matchup like Pete Alonso, maybe even J-Rod or a power righty who can just hit over that left field wall even outside the stadium. Because I remember Giancarlo Stanton when he was still in Miami, he hit one out that stadium. So I feel like we're going to have some balls hit outside the stadium at Dodger Stadium. But I believe Juan Soto is going to have the longest homer, and I think he's going to have the first-round matchup win as well, setting up for both of us a Schwarber versus Soto matchup in the semis. Let's go down to the 2 versus 7 now. Pete Alonso, the defending champion, against Ronald Acuna. Ari, in this matchup, who do you have?
I mean, Alonso's I think it's back-to-back years now. I believe he's won it. So, and this is the type of, whatever you want to call it, contest or whatever, that where certain players are just more fit for this type of contest or whatever than others. It doesn't really matter so much about power, but it also matters about timing and who you have throwing to. Obviously, like how good the pitches are that your pitcher's throwing to. So, I mean, I think Acuna's going to make it close, but I think Alonso holds on in this first round matchup.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. I mean, I'd love to see Acuna, really give that, competition to Pete Alonso because, Pete Alonso, 3-time champ, you hope to see someone new, a potential 3-time champ, excuse me. Kind of want to see someone new maybe take the reins for it. So even though I'd love to see Acuna win, I think Pete Alonso is going to have this down. He knows he knows what to do for the home run derby. He knows how to properly train for it, make sure his swing's okay. And I think he's going to hit one outside of Dodger Stadium in rough field. I think out of everyone in the first round, I think he's the most likely to. But, Acuna also does have that high power, so it could be one of those two. I think someone in that matchup is going to hit one outside Dodger Stadium. So that's my prediction. But I also have Pete Alonso moving on to the next round. And finally, our final first-round matchup, the 3 versus the 6. The one of the more intriguing matchups for Mariner fans here. The 3-seeded Corey Seager against the 6-seeded J-Rod, Julio Rodriguez, the GOAT, the most amazing player in MLB history right now. Ari, who do you have in that 3-6 matchup?
Do I even have to say it?
I don't know why I asked.
I think we both.
Well, let's just move on. So 1 versus 4, we have Kyle Schwarber versus Juan Soto. Power lefty duos right here. Ari, I think this is going to be one of the best matchups in this whole home run derby if it comes. Who do you have in that matchup?
Yeah, I think definitely both should definitely hit not only a lot of home runs, but more so like the distance and the lane of home runs. But I mean, Juan Soto has been on fire the past like 10 or 15 games. And I think it was last year, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, last year, I think, where he made his debut. So he has the experience that, not that Schwarber doesn't, but I think Soto pulls through and reaches the championship.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's where I see Kyle Schwarber kind of faulting because he's going to use all his energy in the first round and then not really have that much for the second round. And with Juan Soto, he's been here before. He's been in this situation before. And I feel as if it's going to prove to be evident again, I feel like Juan Soto is going to – I feel like this round's going to go to one of the tiebreakers, but I think Juan Soto is going to slightly move past and make it to the championship round. And so who we will face, that's next. Ari, it's Pete Alonso versus Julio Rodriguez in the next round. If that happens, out of our predictions. This one is a tough one for me, but who do you have, Ari?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Alonso's going to be the favorite in every matchup, just being the 2-time champion and what he's shown the last couple of years. But we've seen a couple of rookies won it in previous years. We saw, I think Pete Alonso was a rookie when he won it the first time. And we're going to see Julio and Juan Soto, the matchup that we saw, it was like last week when the Mariners played the Nationals. We're going to see that as a rematch, or not a rematch, but we're going to see that matchup again in the championship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Look, Pete Alonso, right? He's a 2-time he's a 2-time home run derby champ. He's been here before. He knows what he needs to do. He can hit the ball hard. He is a power righty. He trains for this event because he wants to be the first 3-time champ since former Mariner and great legend Ken Griffey Jr. And Pete Alonso knows what he's doing. But I'm not going with Pete Alonso. I'm going with Julio. Because Julio's that guy. He's a dog. He's him. Timothy, whatever you want to call him. I love Julio this year. He's literally having fun. I saw some of the bats that he's created just for the home run derby. And honestly, if I had that bat, I'd be hitting 35, 40 homers in the first round too. So all the stats say I should go with Alonso, but I'm a Mariners fan. I'm going with Julio Rodriguez. And so both of us have that 4 versus 6 championship round. Literally, we just saw this matchup a week ago, Mariners versus Nats. Juan Soto versus Julio Rodriguez, the rising young stars in our league in the moment, the home run derby championship round. Ari, who do you have?
Yeah, I think this would be the most just like pure electric matchup of just two, I mean, I would say rising stars, but I feel like they both already are stars. So like 2 stars in the league. Um, when Julio first announced that he was going to be in the home run derby, he was getting in some practice. Obviously, it's going to be a different atmosphere and all of that, but in that practice round where I believe, to my knowledge, he had the same pitcher throwing to him that he's going to have tonight, I believe. I could be wrong, but in that, when they timed him and counted and he hit, I believe it was 37 home runs in a span of 4 minutes. And so obviously there's going to be more pressure on him with the Dodger Stadium packed and all that, but I think Julio, just his personality, his persona, just everything about him is built, for this stage. And obviously he has the momentum of the Mariners carrying him into the All-Star break and everything that he's done for the team. But then you also have Juan Soto, who's probably the biggest name being talked about with the trade deadline. I think, 2 weeks from today, about 2 weeks away. But I've already got money on J-Rod winning, and so I'm going to stick with that.
Look, it's no surprise here that Juan Soto is pretty much one of the hottest commodities in baseball. The Nats are going to offer him one more big-time contract, probably going to be worth $500 million at this point, because he's rejecting $440 million. They got to go up to $500 million. We'll see how that goes. And there's rumors that if he is traded, the Mariners may be a landing spot. So imagine a Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez outfield. Oh my goodness. But this is a matchup that you've mentioned, and I agree with you. This is going to be like this would sell. This is a box office draw. Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, 2, I wouldn't say rising stars. I'd say just young stars in the making. Julio, definitely favored for Rookie of the Year. I don't think any other rookie in the American League has not even made a roster spot except for Julio. So that shows you how dominant he is this year. And Juan Soto, well, he led that Nats team to a 2019 World Series victory. He rakes. We've seen he's one of the best right fielders right now in MLB. And I want to go with Juan Soto, and I really do. But it's Julio Rodriguez's time to shine. I have said this many times. I said as soon as Julio Rodriguez comes into this league, he's going to turn heads. And he's already doing that. And like you said, this event is made for him. He has the power, he has the durability, and he has the strength to win the home run derby. And that's why I'm also going with Julio Rodriguez to win it all this year, beating not only Corey Seager, not only the defending champion, but also one of the dark horse picks and the hottest commodities in baseball right now, Julio Rodriguez, is going to win the home run derby. That would be an amazing story to see. We'd be the first Mariner rookie since Ken Griffey. So if he is to do it, just another accolade to his already amazing rookie year that he's had so far. So definitely tuning in tonight to watch him crush balls to right and left field and center field, wherever he wants to hit. But now we're going to get into the main event on Tuesday, which is the All-Star Game lineup and preview. So obviously there's been a few late additions into the All-Star Game, namely like Ty France. All Mariner fans were very, very pleasantly relieved to see his name up there, but way too late, obviously. There's been names like Freddie Freeman. There's been a lot more NL names being replaced as well. not only just in the game but also in the starting lineup. Ari, let's take a look at the starting lineup real quick, just to evaluate what's the final starting lineup heading into tomorrow's All Star game.
Yeah, so in the AL, Otani's leading off, followed by Aaron Judge, Rafael Devers, Vladimir Guerrero. So that's quite the quite the top four. And then Stanton at 5, Buxton at 6, who replaced Mike Trout in the starting lineup. And then Tim Anderson at 7, Andres Jimenez at 8, and Alejandro Kirk at 9, with Shane McClanahan starting for the American League.
I mean, when you look at that lineup real quick, you see the top 5 names, and you're like, Jesus, right? I mean, you have Judge.
And somehow the NL is the favorite in this game.
I think the NL is slightly favored just because of pitching, and obviously Clayton Kershaw is announced he is the starter for the National League, so obviously starting in his home stadium. But I mean, when you have Judge, Otani, and Devers in the first 3, that's not easy. But I mean, and then you have Guerrero at 4 and Stanton at 5. Those 5 power hitters. It's crazy to think that. And then Tim Anderson at 6, who can hit the ball hard. So,
but Buxton and Anderson.
Exactly. I was going to say Buxton as well, who now is also into the starting lineup because Mike Trout is dealing with back spasms. So that is why Buxton is now in the starting lineup. Mike Trout is not in the All-Star game. Ty France is now in to replace him. But
I was going to bring up, it's pretty cool. They announced I think today, that Mike Trout is going to be playing in the World Baseball Classic coming up. And so normally that's not an event that we see kind of, top players participate in, at least recently. So hopefully him participating will lead to other, top American players represent USA in the World Baseball Classic, which I think is 2023, I believe.
Yeah, it is. I believe it is next year. But Mike Trout being the captain of the United States is definitely a huge addition for this United States baseball team, who has to compete with countries like the DR, who are going to have literally stacked lineups. And then you have countries like Venezuela and Cuba, and just all these Caribbean, South American countries where we see all these young stars like a Julio or a Juan Soto or a Acuna or Albies. It's going to be really interesting to see how these lineups stack, but great addition for the United States getting Mike Trout to confirm that he will be playing in the World Baseball Classic next year, which is definitely going to be a top event to watch. But let's get back to the All-Star game real quick. Ari, what do you like the most about this American League lineup?
Yeah, I mean, just the power, top to bottom is insane. I mean, we'll get into the NL lineup, but I think just power on power is the AL, and it's not even close between the two lineups. And then we talked about McClanahan as a dark horse Cy Young candidate in the AL before the season started, and he's been, as dominant as it gets all year. I think he has like a 1.71 ERA or something around there in the first half of the season. So, yeah, I mean, the thought of having to face Otani, Judge, Devers, Vladimir Guerrero, and Stanton as the first 5 hitters just seems so daunting. No matter how good the NL pitchers are. So, it's mostly about the power. And then, I mean, Buxton, when he's fully healthy, is one of the best outfielders himself. He's starting for a reason, obviously. So, just the power top to bottom is what stands out most to me.
All right, let's take a look at the NL lineup from top to bottom. We already know that Clayton Kershaw got the nod. He is starting for the National League inside Dodger Stadium. Great story to see him start the All-Star game as a member of the Dodgers organization. So definitely he's going to get a lot of cheers as he takes the mound. But what's the rest of the lineup looking like?
Yeah, so Ronald Acuna is leading off, followed by Mookie Betts, Manny Machado, Paul Goldschmidt, Trey Turner. Then we got the Contreras brothers back-to-back, Wilson and William. And then Jock Peterson at 8, Jeff McNeil at 9. And then, as you say, Clayton Kershaw is starting.
Yeah, obviously great story to see the Contreras brothers, back-to-back. Obviously, I've heard there's some rumors that Wilson Contreras is obviously kind of a hot commodity at the trade deadline. on a rebuilding Cubs organization right there. So it would definitely be interesting to see where he goes. But great story to see both of them not only make the All Star game, but hit back to back in the All Star game lineup to start. So definitely great to see what Williams is doing down in Atlanta as well for the Braves. But yeah, that lineup is a lot more well rounded. Not really too much power from top to bottom like the AL, because the AL you have all those power hitters from 1 to 5, and you don't really see that much power when you look at this lineup for the National League. You see Trey Turner, who has speed. You have Paul Goldschmidt, who's definitely NL MVP candidate, along with Machado, and then you have Jock Peterson at 8, which obviously is all right. Not the greatest power hitter, but he's doing well for that Giants organization. And then obviously the star of the show, Acuna, coming back to that NL lineup representing the Braves again. So great to see Acuna back, and just some great stories out of that lineup. Acuna coming back, both Contreras brothers hitting back to back. Just great stories out of the National League lineup, in my opinion. Ari?
Yeah, obviously these guys are all-stars for a reason. They're all great players, but the lineup is definitely not as good to me, at least, the starting lineup. William Contreras, he's had a good season, but all-star starter, I don't know. And then, Jock Peterson's had a really good season, but and partially I think it's also just maybe partly more like just well-known / star players are in the AL versus the NL. Obviously you have guys like Mookie Betts, Machado, Goldschmidt, Acuna, Trey Turner. Obviously these guys are all-stars for a reason, but I think the AL lineup is definitely better on paper, at least. But obviously this is the All-Star game, and so these guys are going to try, but to what degree are they going to try is always a question, because now they took out the game having a meaning with the home field advantage in the World Series. So it should just be a fun game, as it is every year, just to watch, and watch all these star players play either together for the first time or against each other, and just kind of represent their league that they're in.
Yeah, that would be fun to see how it looks. And also, breaking news, I just saw this on Twitter. That game I'm going to on Friday, the Mariners have officially announced that game is already sold out.
It's great.
So definitely going to be great to see what happens after the All-Star break. But going into the All-Star break, I believe that as well. I think that the National League lineup is great, but when you compare it to the hit power and just the star names in that American League lineup, you have Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. Two power hitters in that, and big contributors to that New York Yankee organization. And in that offense, you have Shohei Ohtani. He's had specific rule changes just because of what he does for baseball. So we know how much of a star he is. You have Vladimir Guerrero. He was almost an MVP last year. We know his name is big. Tim Anderson's one of the best shortstops in the American League. His name is big. Byron Buxton's a big power hitter. He was a dark horse. His name is big. There are so many big names in this American League lineup, and so much star power. And it goes even deeper. Ty France, who just got selected, he's playing like one of the best first basemen in MLB, and not just MLB, but I would say definitely the American League right now. So I feel like this American League definitely has a lot more star power in terms of the lineup. And then when you look at the rotation, obviously big names in just the whole starting pitching rotation. Obviously, they have McClanahan. We've talked about him. He's just dominating for the Rays this year. Verlander's doing great for the Astros again this year on his comeback tour. So, and then Martin Perez, great to see him make it for the Rangers. He's having a great year as well for the Texas Rangers. Definitely a lot of star power for this American League roster. And that's why I think the American League is definitely going to win this year.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So tonight, Monday, is the Home Run Derby, and then Tuesday is the All-Star Game. And so on Wednesday, assuming we have an episode, we'll go over the results of the Home Run Derby and see how good, how accurate our bracket was, which I think was the exact same top to bottom. And then the All-Star game and the All-Star game MVP and all of that. And so now we'll get into an NFL topic that broke this morning on Monday, July 18th. Um, so on Ian Rappaport appeared on NFL Network, and he talked about how J.K. Dobbins is no sure thing for Week 1, and how he hasn't had any setbacks, but just how serious his knee injury was, and how Baltimore has no incentive to rush him back. They signed Mike Davis this offseason. That's kind of veteran insurance in case Dobbins wasn't going to be healthy, and then literally about within the next hour, and it was when Rappaport was on the Pat McAfee show when Dobbins tweeted this. He quote tweeted him saying, and I quote, "Okay, I'm tired of being quiet. Come to me for your source at Rap Sheet because I might not even go on PUP because that's how good my rehab is going, and I'm damn sure going to be ready for Week 1." So we've seen players kind of talk about other people's sources and kind of mock them, but this is definitely it seemed like a shot at Rappaport. But you look at the injury Dobbins suffered last year. It was the last week of August last year, and it was a torn ACL. And if it was just a torn ACL, then you would figure, suffering it before the season, that he could be ready for the next season. But there were reports that it was not only a torn ACL, but a torn meniscus and damage to the lateral side of his knee. And so, when you have all three of those together, it would make sense for Baltimore not to want to rush him back, regardless of how his rehab is going. You want to ensure he's fully 100% healthy. I mean, you look at running backs who have torn their ACL, in the past and how they've dealt with injuries the following year. I always go back to the example of Dalvin Cook and the year he tore his ACL, and Minnesota seemingly rushed him back a little bit too early the next year. And that led to him dealing with just kind of hamstring injuries and soft tissue issues. And so that happens often for running backs who tear their ACL the next year when they're rushed back. And so I think it would make sense for Baltimore. I mean, they also have Gus Edwards, who's coming off a torn ACL himself. So you have basically your top two running backs both coming off the same injury, torn ACL, except Dobbins is more than just a torn ACL. It's a meniscus tear and damage to the lateral side of his knee. And so when you have all three of those together, I never expected Dobbins to be, fully healthy for Week 1. Clearly, he's saying he's going to be ready for Week 1, but obviously players can say what they want on social media, but it doesn't mean the team's going to clear him or the team doctors are going to clear him. So I still wouldn't expect him to be back for Week 1, just based off those injuries and what I've seen from running backs, tearing their ACL in the past. Curry, what was your thoughts on this and what you thought when you saw that tweet?
Look, obviously, I know the severity of the injury is deep for J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, torn ACL. There's rumors that it could be an LCL, meniscus. A lot more deep. And obviously, I respect Baltimore for wanting to preserve him a little more, just because he is coming off a huge injury, and he's such a young age already. Don't want to wear and tear at that more, since they want that lead back now in Baltimore, to not really have to depend on Lamar Jackson. But look, I'm not fazed by this. This is just J.K. Dobbins being J.K. Dobbins. Look, I've seen the videos of him this offseason. He looks great. He obviously has no setbacks. So obviously, I'm not concerned about I'm not concerned about him being ready or not for Week 1. There's still 17 more games he has to play, or no, 16 more games he has to play. And if it's 1 week, okay, so what? I believe his fantasy value is not going to be so diminished this year, just because of what I've seen this offseason in terms of him training and the fact that he is not barring any setbacks. Yes, the injury is severe. Yes, there is huge risk because of the fact that he is coming off such an injury where you don't want to take him the next year because of the fact that it's an ACL. And if he's rushed back, it definitely could lead to an under injury, or if his setback is so pushed to where he's, you're questioning when he's going to come back, there's risk in both of those areas. But I know what I've seen from J.K. Dobbins this offseason. I feel like he's going to be coming back. If it's not week 1, okay, probably by week 3. And I feel like because he's not barring any setbacks, I feel as if he's going to come, obviously not out the gates running, but I feel like, once he starts easing into it, I think maybe like during training camp, they'll just slowly ease him into, more and more contact as the rest of training camp and preseason goes by. I feel like once that starts to happen, I definitely feel as if J.K. Dobbins will be ready by like week 2 or week 3 if he is being not slated for week 1. So I'm not concerned. I'm not the most concerned. I know you're not as high as him this year as I am. I just feel like, from what I've seen this year and what I have seen of J.K. Dobbins, he's a dog, man. He definitely can run the ball hard. He's definitely a power runner, which is definitely why I think the Baltimore Ravens are a little more concerned because he has a little more power. He absorbs contact and obviously not the greatest when you're coming off of injury like that. So I'm not too concerned about J.K. Dobbins, but at the same time, it is something keep in the back of your brain for anyone that drafts him, has him to have him as an immediate starter.
Yeah, I mean, as we get into training camp next week, when every team is in training camp, this will just be one of the many headlines that and storylines that we'll have to monitor. We also have guys like Michael Thomas coming back from injury and what his status is. Other players coming off serious injuries suffered last year. Derrick Henry too.
You also have some big name free agents that are still not signed. Julio, big name free agent. There's also Jimmy Garoppolo. They're still negotiating where he may go, the Niners. So definitely a bunch of rumors heading in to the beginning of training camp. But already, sorry to interrupt you. Well, I'll let you finish here.
No, I was just saying just the other injuries, and then we also have the Deshaun Watson looming suspension and how that could change a lot. Because I've heard the Browns could be in on Garoppolo if Watson's suspension is like the whole year. Just a lot of storylines that we'll be getting into and covering as we get into training camp the rest of July and then throughout August and then preseason in August. I think the Hall of Fame game is the first week of August, maybe second week. So we're literally just 2 to 3 weeks away from seeing at least some football action. Obviously, a Hall of Fame game isn't the most exciting, but it's always better than having nothing. When we get that first glimpse of actual football back. So we'll have that around the corner, and then I believe it's Thursday starts the second half, quote unquote, of the MLB season. We'll be covering both the MLB and NFL the rest of the summer, and then before you know it, we'll get back into NBA, college football, college basketball. We'll get into the fall, which is going to be a lot more than just MLB to talk about in terms of actual games and actual action. That was all I had, Korea. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No. That was pretty much what I was gonna say. Just keep on Wednesday. We're gonna go, get a little bit of debrief of the All-Star game, and the Home Run Derby, depending on what happens tonight. So be for that on Wednesday, and maybe you're not. We'll see what happens. We may do another mailbag since we couldn't get to it today. So peep that for Wednesday. We may do another mailbag. We'll see. But this has been another episode of AKP Sports Talk. Once again, thank you guys for watching our videos. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We're just graduates of college, just trying to make it in the sports media world. And, Ario down there in Tucson. So congratulations to him graduating. I'm up here in Spokane. I'm starting my first job. So, we're just trying. So we appreciate all the love you guys have. But for right now, this is going to be another episode of AKP Sports Talk. That's Ari. I'm Korea. We will see you guys on Wednesday. Have a great day.